loud as the other one.
Okay, everyone, welcome to the show. We're going to get right into it. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. I'm going to beat up the bush. So today, we got a special guest. But before we do any of that, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Brian Bacchus. You'll never be.
I'm Jamal Smith. Welcome to episode 120.
I am Toni Bailey Rains. Welcome to episode 120. Glad
I'm
you all
Clarence.
are here. Clarence.
I'm Clarence Ellington, Triplett Construction. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank
The
you for
gang's
being
all
here.
here.
The gang's all here. The gang's all here. Clarence, we get silly. We just have a good time on the show, so you don't have to be super
have fun.
formal.
We
Good
fight
morning.
each other on popping up stuff.
Good morning, Tracy. You'll see
morning,
people
Tracy.
pop in and they may put comments in, and one of us will pop them on the screen. Sometimes we're both popping them on and off, and it may go like this because
Jamal's your job today. I'm not doing it.
Copy that.
and Brian said he's popping off right now because Brian has other things that he's doing. Other things that he is doing and has to get done, so he's going to be in the background. Jamal said he may pop off as well, most likely, and come in later on some questions. But welcome, Clarence, to the show today. See, he just popped off. So we're glad you're on Altadena Talks, on the Toni Talk segment today. I brought you on because I met you it was an event at Fame Church on Raymond and Penn.
Yes.
That Lena Kennedy hosted or put on, and you were there, and I was kind of in the background listening, but I did meet you and get your card. And I know that you were coming in, you were talking about what your company does as a one-stop shop, what you can offer, as well as you were coming in right around $340, $350 a square foot at the time. I know that tariffs have happened, prices have changed a little and things like that. But I wanted to just hear from you about what is Triplett Construction? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And what is your connection to Altadena, which then made you come up to offer your services to Altadena?
Okay.
So first tell us who you are and about Triplett Construction.
So my name is Clarence Ellington II. I have 4 kids, a son that just graduated from Howard Law, and he's been practicing for a year. Altadena, I lived in Altadena for over 20 years. I have triplet daughters. So the name Triplett comes from my son being the third and my triplet daughters who were born at Huntington Memorial Hospital. We lived in Altadena I've lived there for 20 years before I moved away. And again, part of Altadena was my home. I've had 3 homes in Altadena. I loved it. I moved away through family issues. But what brought me back over there was my cousin lost his home on Palm. Him and his wife lost their home on Palm. And driving up there with him, it brought me to tears because I knew I knew the area. I used to live on Calaveras, where I had dogs walking to the Alameda veterinarian on Lake. So I knew it very well. And I have a skill that I've had for the last 18 years, prior to 20 years of real estate, of building homes, remodeling homes, property preservation, which means anything that is damaged, we repaired. So I had a unique skill, and I wanted to give back. I wanted to be part of history. And being African-American contractor is not a lot of us out there, but there are a few, and there are a few that are very good. I wanted to bring my skills to Altadena to give back. And so I reached out to some of my friends who we've been doing business 20, 30 years as a team, and asked them, would they help me give back to the community and be part of history? I would like my kids and my grandkids, knock on wood, if my kids ever have some, to have a legacy of doing something for a community, of an historical Black community. And I think it's very important that us as contractors, architects, engineers, that plumbers, electricians, that we give back to someone or to a community that looks like us. And so that started a management team called United Legacy Builders. I think right now I have about 10 or 15 signs out of the 30 that we have with some of our clients. We have 60 families that we're working with, and they're growing every week. But part of it is giving back. It's very important. And so the United Legacy Builders was a team building team. What it means is that we have the architect, structural engineer, designer, planner. We have the finishers who will finish and work with the homeowners and as far as interior design. So we will walk through them in a management team that will allow them to see online and communication of how their house is being built. And so it's very important that we communicate with the homeowners who have lost everything. So our job is to streamline it to make it easy for the homeowners.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Glad to know that you have real connection and roots in Altadena, because one of the things that obviously, we're running into is people saying, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. And they don't have any connection. It's about the money that they think they can make, or even some are about the land grab, right? Like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. But at the end of the day, they want to buy lots to flip them for big money, right? Build on them and make a couple $1 million. There's a real concern about more gentrification on the west side, because the east side, that's never been a huge thing. When you talk about historical Black community, Altadena is not that, because it was never that. But on the west side, there's more African Americans, Latinos, and Asians, Japanese particularly, that were pushed into Altadena because of redlining. And that's where people say the historical Black community comes from. But we know the whole town was not that, right? It never was. So, but being part of history, like you said, to help rebuild those that were within those communities that are sometimes overlooked, lots of times overlooked. And someone would want to just, oh, here, let me throw this cash at you real quick, right? And I can get your land, versus the historical part for Black families, Latino families, and Japanese families that were pushed up there for redlining. And there's elderly people that may think, oh, the only option I really do have is to sell, right? And if someone like you or other community-minded people, your heart is with the community, you have a connection with the community, if they are coming in and saying, look, I really want to help you, right? I really want to help you rebuild. Let's see how we can work with what you have, with your insurance, with your, whatever you have, so we can get you back in your home. I think that that's super, super important. And here we've been trying to vet people and make sure that that is their focus as well, not just that other stuff, right? Of, oh, I'm just going to come in and do something real quick and make quick money. I'm glad to hear that you said you have 15, I think, already in the pipeline, but up to 60 that you're working with.
Yeah, we actually have 16 that are already there. I believe that their plans have already been submitted. We are actually starting our first actual build next week.
Nice.
Part of what we've done, as you mentioned earlier, when we met, our square footage per homes was starting around 350. Now, we did hear that was too low, and that most contractors are in the 5 and 6. And we believe that we do not count other people's money.
Right.
But there is no tariff. There is no supply and demand. There's only the issues that have been raised by the properties. And the Corps of Engineers left and removed out of that option of opting in. Mm-hmm. The Corps, the heavy equipment that they used, the 6 inches of dirt that was removed. Those things play a very vital part of building your home back. And one of the things that our structural engineer, of Cook and Associates, it's American Standard Engineering, they've been in the business for over 50 years. And part of it is dealing with disasters like this that has occurred. So when that 6 inches of dirt was removed, the topography of that property has changed. So we have to take in consideration when doing their plans, putting something back in order to level for future floods, for future drainage. Secondly, we have to address the dirt movement, that the core of the dirt has to be compacted. There's soil testing. So one of the things our company does is educate our clients on what needs to take place, regardless if they can afford it or not, regardless if we have to incorporate those prices in our billable, because it's not that we don't build your home beautiful, but 6 months down the line and you have cracks going everywhere is because the property has settled, the compaction was not done, and therefore the prep work prior to the build work was not done correctly. So what we've done is we incorporated part of that cost to make sure that even if the homeowner cannot afford it, that is taken care of in the same process is used on all properties. So we did go up on our price. We're at $395 a square foot. And the purpose of that is to incorporate it. We do know that homeowners do not have a lot of insurance, or their insurance may or may not cover certain specific items. So sprinkler systems, which is a state requirement, solar panels, state requirement. Because of those things, we have to look at each. We have what is called an administrator, insurance administrator. We also, that's my specialty as well, to work with your insurance company to incorporate that even over and above your standard policy. And the purpose behind that is to take our time before we do any work to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Got it.
One of our clients at the event that you and I met a young lady, and she indicated that she had no insurance, but she needed help. And so I suggested to her to let's look at SBA and let's see what they can offer you. A recent event on Fair Oaks at, I think it's Metropolitan Church. There's this lady that walked up. Well, I'm sorry, I apologize. The daughter came to me. So then this lady, Miss Garcia, she came up to me and she says, "Hi, Clarence." And I said, "How you doing?" And I'm getting ready to tell her all about the greatness of Triplett Construction, United Legacy Builders. We're here for you. She says, well, I didn't have insurance. I said, okay. And then I looked to the side. She said, but my daughter. And I looked at her and I saw her daughter from once I met her before. I said, yes, she said that you were going to help us. And I whispered to her, part of giving back is sometimes you have to give then receive. I said, whatever they approved you for, I will build your house for.
Yeah.
And I said that because that's what the commitment I gave to her daughter. So part of giving back, sometimes we're not going to hit a home run, but a base hit is just as good, because the feeling from that family was more important than the bottom line of on my checking account. And it's important that if you're going to give back, and if God is going to allow you to give back, then give back. Not everybody you can help, but most of them we can. And that's, I believe it. I feel it. And that's why I'm out there every day to the certain events to give back to the community, to give back to homeowners, to give them the knowledge. So whoever they select, they're going to make sure they're more versed on the questions to ask the next contractor. And we've been blessed that they've come back and said hello to us.
I like that. Thank you. That's so important to me. And I talked to you about that yesterday on the phone, that for our community, it's so important. And every builder I've spoken with, I'm like, you do realize that some people you may help, you're going to put in or give some of what you're going to need to do for this build, right? Because they just don't have it. And some were like, oh, well, you know, things like that. And that made me go, yeah, no, I don't want to bring these things into the community. I don't want to, because there are people that are underinsured or uninsured.
Yes.
And if they say, hey, I'm going to get $450,000 from my insurance, that's it. They may not qualify for a SBA loan, or might be so old that they don't want to get one, right? Yes. Because what if I'm 90 years old or 94 and I want to build back, but me taking out a loan then either my house is going to have to be sold if I pass and have no kids, or my kids will have to assume it, or whatever, right? So they
Yes.
cannot even think like, I don't want to burden my family. I want this to be legacy, so I don't want to do that. And if somebody's not willing to say, all right, let me see what I could do. Because guess what? If I have 60, if I have 30, if I have 100 out of 6,200 homes, right? I'm going to get more, because guess what? Somebody in that 30 is going to say, Triplett Construction helped me when I thought I wasn't going to be able to rebuild. There are people ready to start the process now. People may not be ready for 6 months or a year, but they're going to not only see signs up for Triplett Construction, but they're going to hear word of mouth what you did. And if it was something like there was someone, you know, in any of these circumstances, whether they're older or younger or middle-aged or whatever, but there's an issue and they reach out to you and you're like, this is it. Here's my insurance. This is all I have, right? And you say, well, you know what? We're going to work within your insurance. We're going to build your property back. That is such an incredible blessing, because you gave, God is going to give you 1,000-fold in return just for that, right?
I believe it. And part of, if your mission is one legacy, one team, one person at a time, then vow to be that. I have a client who several months ago, and we talk about follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have insurance. They owned the property outright.
Mm-hmm.
They went through the proper channels. SBA told them, well, no, we can't help you because. So by listening, 2 ears in that one mouth, by just listening, I shared with her. I had a thought process. So I had a neighbor at my main office in Los Angeles, and they had contacts. And so can you help my client? Well, I just didn't pass them on. 2 weeks ago, there was another event, and there was a mortgage company, Black-owned mortgage company, at the event. And they talked about a program called the 203H. Now, my background is I owned a mortgage company, a real estate company. So I know mortgages very well. I know all about mortgages. I know how to flip. I do hard money loans for clients and doing remodels. I walked the lady over to their office. And I said, can you help my client? Because she doesn't meet that criteria of SBA.
Right.
Then I got on the phone and called my other client. And I said to that client, listen, there's a company called ABC. Call them. Because my thought process is, you got a mixed use property. SBA says you don't qualify because of the income you don't have no more because the fire burned it out. Let's do this. I'll get you a loan to build only your mixed use duplex 4-unit. Then when we finish, then go back to SBA and let's build the mixed use.
Yep.
My expertise of 30, 40, I ain't gonna tell how old I am. I know I look 21, but the purpose behind it is talking to that client and helping.
Yeah.
Last Sunday, most people work. Last Sunday, I was not this past before. There's a Mr. Garcia. He hurt me. We talked for an hour and a half because he shared with me, a father of 8, and the family wants to stay in Altadena. He's ready to leave. And his wife said no. And I told him, I said, can I now call you Frank? He said, okay. I said, you know, we've been on the phone for an hour. He said, really? I said, but see, God was talking to both of us in this teaching. Your wife has given you everything that you want in life. 8 beautiful kids that are successful. Family members who can build your home. Everything that you need to say yes, and you still are stubborn and not listening to God. Because he's given you a stroke and told you to hold on. I'm not finished with you, but you're still not listening. So I'm that lifeboat. I'm that person in the sand telling you, God is working with you, dog. Build your wife her home. And if you need me to help, I will meet with your relatives and we will build that house for your wife. And he said, you are serious? I said, I am, because it's not always about money. It's about being a part. Because I want you to invite me to the house party. I'm going to be the brother from the other mother that says hello. That's what a family, and that's what history, and that's what the community is about. And if you're not about it, don't get involved with it. And we got people out there with pricing. My price base is to give you an opportunity to have a home, and it's not Home Depot standard. It is about being true to what you say, and our truth is United Legacy Builders is one legacy, one team, one voice, and it's Altadina's voice.
And so thank you for that. That's you're spitting real stuff, because I got people talking about exactly 100 facts, right on. Marcus says, I like that mentality and spirit. It's needed for Altadena. And it's true, because you do have that connection.
Yes.
And people need to know that, right? Because sometimes, and it might be that you talk to someone, God puts something on your heart, allows you to talk to somebody, and they don't even go with you. But because you've spoken to them, they now decide to rebuild, where they were like, oh no, we're not going to rebuild, like Mr. Garcia or someone else, right?
Yes.
So however he uses you as the vessel, you're being available. And that's what's so important for us, right? That we be available to people, however, like we're doing here on Altadena Talks. We're just trying to be available and give good, accurate information and bring the right people on that can, help with the rebuild, because there's so many homes, and then the commercial will need to be rebuilt, right? And people that own that commercial property, if they choose to rebuild something, they will. Others will come in as developers and do it. And I've talked to quite a few, even of the developers, and I'm like, if your heart is not for Altadena, don't come in just trying to build stuff. And you need to ask Altadena what they want.
And I think that's important. I know we do have several commercial projects that we're working with the ministers, the pastors, and the bishops that are looking, and we're trying to see how we can support and help them, because we do have a commercial division that we can assist them. And we've given them information, vital information, for them to make the right decision, even if they don't go with us.
Yeah.
The core is you can't help everybody.
Right.
But the core is if you give them the right information. And part of when we started going to all the seminars and the group town hall meetings, we were asking the city council and the council people the right questions that were not being answered, that the homeowners needed to know. And part of that is, if I have the right information and the right knowledge, I can ask the right question. Homeowners lost everything.
Right.
So they're depending on individuals like yourself and me to give them some good information, knowledge, so they can make the intelligent decision what company they want to work with. Yeah. So if a company is not telling them the truth, or if we've had several say, well, I'm thinking about selling. And I go back and I said, why?
Right.
Well, I don't want to go through this. I said, let me share how 8 months will change your life.
Right.
8 months, take that in money from the insurance company. Let me build your home, or let a contractor build your home. Now, if you choose to sell, you get to pick who you want to buy your home.
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you, if you go with us, you're going to love that home. You're going to love how Thomas Reese, Raw Development Design, has designed the finish, how Elliott Wells, Ron, has built the home, how Tina Cook, from the architectural engineer, how she's walked you and said, close your eyes. We just walked through your front door. If you go to the left, what do I see? If you go to the right, what is that? The bedroom? Is that the bathroom? So when she revisions your home, how it looked, you decided, okay, yes, I had a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. Well, let's take that 10% that the county is allowing, i.e., and let's build a 2nd bathroom. It gives value to the home. Family wealth. Let's talk about.
If they want that additional tax base, though.
But that tax base is so small.
I get it, but
it's still a pitch. It's still an issue. You're absolutely
exactly
correct.
Because I had the county assessor on here 3 weeks ago on June 12th, and that whole thing, 10% or 200 square feet is what it is, and it's if your house is under 2,000 square feet, you can do 10% or 200 square feet, whichever is greater, right?
Yes.
Over 2,000 square feet, whatever you do. Right? There's one lady that is part of a company that we had on about a month ago, and we went to her basically like groundbreaking for her lot, and the company invited a lot of people so that they could see her plan. She's going from, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, I know you're listening, but if you remember the size, I think it was 1,300 or 1,500 square feet. She's now going to 2,800. building a big old house, right? But this is her
Yeah,
home.
those numbers were correct. But she will
15
have no
or
backyard.
well, and she kind of didn't before. She has the pool, and she's still gonna have the pool. That other area, oh, it was the backyard, but the house is gonna go over there now. That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
But she's going up. She's like, hey, this is our forever home. I got 3 kids. We're rebuilding it. So I'm going to rebuild what I want. Right. And that's great. But yes, that tax base will be, maybe will be a little, but for some people, because one of the things, Clarence, that I asked the assessor, Jeffrey Prang, was, since we know that 10% or 200 square feet is for the permits only, it doesn't have anything to do with your tax base under Prop 13. Now that he explained it, what happens? Are you going to get a tax bill that's going to have, like now when you get a tax bill, it shows your structure and it shows your land, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I said, is it with the new 10% or 200 square feet going to have another line item that shows the new? Because the old structure or the previous tax base on the old structure will still apply to the new structure, but will it be broken out so people can see the difference? He said, you know what, Toni, I hadn't even thought of that. But I'm going to kick that idea around that at least maybe on the first bill after the rebuild, it will show so people can see, okay, this is my regular tax base. And this is now, because I added this much, 10% or 200 square feet, this is what it is. On that second one, when it's incorporated, you know, they'll know. Matter of fact, I got a letter from him yesterday telling me, thank you. I'll have to get it while we're on here and read it to you guys. I thought it was really nice that the county assessor sent a thank you letter because he was on the show. But so even with that, Clarence, you know, you're designing and you're saying, okay, let's add extra value. You did want to sell, let's build back, add a little bit, add some value. And then if you still want to sell, now you have increased value, right? And you get to determine, number one, what it is. You just did your own flip, basically. You get to determine if it was valued at 900,000 or $1 million two before, now it's valued at 1.8 or 2, right?
Yes.
Because of the hardscaping, the panels, everything. We know the property values are going to be a lot more, especially on the structure. And then if you want to sell, go for it. But if not, now you have your beautiful home again, right?
And that's important. And then what you just said makes a difference also. Well, the concern I have is I can't afford this new home. Well, let's talk about family wealth. You hear about the ADU, the additional dwelling unit. Why is that important? Because if you're going to pass it down to your kids, because most Altadenians are, we're in our ages of 60 to 80. So we may want to pass it down. So the consideration of an additional dwelling unit is imperative because that residual income continues as long as you own the property. So there are benefits when talking to your engineer, your structural engineer, your licensed architect. Tell them that's a possibility of a vision, because then they can set the house, set the garage, set everything in motion, that even if you don't do it right now, you could do it after you build, after you're back in your home, but everything is set so you don't have to tear something down. It's already structurally sound, such as the garage conversion, such as going on top of the garage. The other thing that I'm sure other contractors have spoken, and let's talk about guarantees, if it's okay with you.
Okay.
I truly believe there's a difference between a homeowner who owns their property and a homeowner who has a loan mortgage on their property. Why is that important, Clarence? It's important, real simple. Toni, if a person owns their own home outright, they're asked to manage $1 million that they've may not have had in their bank account ever. So the cousin, the family members, the new car, the new trip, the new travel, the delays, all of that eats into that money that's been sitting partially in that account. And you look up and you don't start building for 3 or 4 months, a lot of that money is gone. It's human nature. However, having that plan, what I suggest to all homeowners who own their house outright, that we put what is called a builder's risk policy on that build. Why is that important?
Talked about that here.
Builder's risk says this:
Yeah.
I'm guaranteeing you, Mr. Contractor, that if you build this woman's or man's home correctly, every time you request a draw, those items that you've itemized on the previous draw have been corrected, have been completed, have been signed off by the deputy inspector, have been signed off by the county inspector. So therefore, you are entitled to the next draw to go to the next phase. That's very important for a homeowner who's not experienced in building of a home. That means also, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you have a licensed contractor who actually knows what they're doing and cannot go to the next step, cannot ask you for a dime until that first phase is done. So there's an experienced, licensed structural inspector that's going to come and check the quality of that work to ensure that they are entitled to get paid. So from beginning to end, you have one extra layer for a homeowner. And I think it's very important. That's what we share with our homeowners. And I think it's very important that they are aware that they have a second level of quality control on that they should utilize. Yes, it's a cost to the homeowner, but that's probably the best investment outside of building that home that they should have.
Well, and part of the builder's risk insurance, because we've talked about that in depth on here, also protects the homeowner like a workers' comp policy, so that
100%.
When somebody starts to build, if somebody is a shady contractor and they decide to get hurt so they could try to take the land, it protects them from that. And even though it's a slight cost, excuse me, somebody is calling me and this is so ridiculous. Anyway, there's a cost. A lot of people still are paying for their regular insurance. So I know with us, they said with my mom, they were like, no, don't keep your regular policy intact because the structure is not there. Do a builder's risk policy instead. And that was USAA that literally walked my mother through that and said, this is what it's for. Now with people that own their homes outright and they're not going to get a draw a little bit at a time from insurance, if the insurance paid them outright, we've told people, and I know several that have opened high yield accounts or that have opened high yield accounts or put that money in a CD for 3 or 6 months. Mm-hmm. And some that have split it, some that put it in a 3 month. I know personally somebody that put in a 3 month, a 6 month, and a 9 month. That way they can have access within 3 months, because by the time you go to someone like a Triplett Construction or somewhere else who's a one-stop shop, and you start the process of, okay, let me sit down and tell you what I like. Let me tell you what I don't like. Let me tell you what I want to see, because that's also very important, that you just don't go to somebody that has in their mind, this is what you're going to get and that's it, right? But that works with you and you design the house that you want, even if it's your old house. Even if you say, look, I'm going to sketch out exactly where my bedrooms were, my bathroom was, my kitchen, yes, I want to update a kitchen, but whatever. But I want the same floor plan. And I want it to look just like it looked before on the outside, right? That whoever they're working with gives them what they want, right? Because it's their home. And now I have all this money, $1 million, $1.5 million, 800,000, whatever, that my insurance gave me because I own it. So now I'm going to put it in these accounts. And at 3 months, because it's going to take us that long to get through all of this, plus the permitting process. After 3 months, if I have my permit, or at 4 months, if I have my permit, I now have this amount of cash ready so you can start phase 1, right?
Yes.
By the time, 6 months comes in, hopefully we're done with phase 1, maybe even 2, but I have more available if needed, right? Between those 2 months. When I get to the point of, okay, everything's done, finishings, because I want you to also help me with interior design. Now I have money set to buy all my bedrooms, my living rooms, my dining set, all of that stuff. So I've put it in 3 different CDs or high interest accounts that is going to make me money while it's sitting, instead of just all over here in my checking, where then I have access and might go and get things that I don't need, right? So yeah, we've talked about both of those, and I'm glad you brought that back up today, because it's so vitally important that people remember that. You didn't just win the lottery and have a whole bunch of cash and just go spend it, right?
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, that does happen sometimes. And we
Yes.
tend to call it and say, oh, somebody just got hood rich, right? When they come into something. Obviously, people that lost everything in a fire, if they need a new car and they weren't given one, they're going to go buy a new car. It's their choice what they want to buy, right? Luxury or not. But most people are just buying something comparable that I know that have had to buy them. I have one girlfriend lost everything. She still had her car. And within a month, somebody rear-ended her or hit her and totaled her car. So her insurance paid for that. So she had her house claim, then her auto claim, all of the insurance. And she went and was able to buy a brand new, she had a Benz truck. So she bought a brand new Benz truck, updated model to what she had, but was able to buy it outright because her insurance paid for hers and she had cash. Her money she set aside from her insurance. I think she has a slight mortgage, but she's doing her draws. She has her builder and all of that. And she's in the final phases of her permitting process. I think it's with fire right now, which is the last steps right before the permit's issued. But the thing about it is, let's have these discussions. I brought, a financial planner on, somebody that talked about reverse mortgages and all of that. And the fact that you have the knowledge because you were in real estate for so long, because you do mortgages and you're a builder now and have the one-stop shop and have all these great connections, I'm really, really glad that you came on, because if we don't know what you do, we just don't know. But this gives an opportunity for not only me, Jamal, Brian, and all those that are watching, but they can also now tell other people, right? Hey, I just watched this show and you might want to talk to Triplett Construction. I do have a friend I spoke with yesterday. He had 3 parcels, 3 lots. 2 of them had back houses. He didn't have insurance on anything. He was literally a couple days away working with his attorney on getting insurance on all 3 of his lots, and everything burned down. But he wants to rebuild. And he's like, I got to figure it out, Tony. And that was yesterday. So I'll tell you.
And Toni, I'll say this to you. I had a family on Friday. One of the family members, she's a senior. She came from out of town just to meet with us, to meet with me.
Nice.
And we did a scenario of family wealth. We said X. X means your existing personal debt, assets, what you have. And my concern is I don't want to put I don't want to be signing on no mortgage for anybody, especially my family members, on an income producing property.
Right.
So all 4 principals said the same thing. And so I opened their eyes up to long-term family wealth in reference to creating an LLC. Put that property in it from the trust into an LLC. The purpose of doing that. Now, let me tell you about the story I heard on your blog when they asked me what should they do with this property. I said, now I'm going to back you up and tell you as a developer, i.e. as a mortgage broker, i.e. let's build the duplex that was there. Instead of side by side, let's go on top and bottom. Why? When that is finished, you now have residual income from the LLC that can be produced. Now, next to it, we want to put another duplex on it because the property zoning doesn't say single family, it says 2 to 4. I want to keep it in residential, not build it, even if it has a commercial zoning. I don't want to put it in commercial because it changes your whole dynamic. Let's keep it as a 4 unit. Why is that important? Now we're going to build the second 2 units. Now I have 4 units, and i.e. all of them are 2 bedroom, 2 baths. Why? Because not only if you want to go Section 8, but if you have a family that wants to live, they don't all want to share the same bathroom, so they have 2 separate bathrooms. Why is that important? Now your rental income, let's say, is $3,000 each. Now I have $12,000. Oh, but we're not going to stop there. Now that we have 2, let's put 4 ADUs in the back that the state says for each unit I can have an ADU. So now you've taken a simple 2 unit, and within a 5-year, 6-year, 10-year plan, you have now 8 units. Now look at the numbers. And the aunt said, boy, you need to put this on video. I said, no, it would be nice, but the purpose is me talking to you as a family. There's no liability as each individual family member. It is the property that has the liability. It's the property that allows them. So when we talk to families, as you said, we're going to talk about if they ask the question, I don't want to know what your policy says. The reason is because, and the homeowner said, the reason we haven't given your person our policy, Clarence, is because we don't want them. We've been hearing that when I tell you what the policy is, now you're going to tell me how much it's going to cost to build my home.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people are doing that.
And I said to them, I'm going to tell you how much it typically costs to build your home. We don't do Home Depot contractor's grade,
right?
Because our name is on it. So when we put our name on it, you're going to know. If you want to look at what our work looks like, go on our website, you'll see the quality of our work. So therefore,
what is your website, just so that we can allow people here?
We have two, triplettconstruction.com or rawdevelopment.com. Both of those are. Raw Development Design was a full-fledged, one of the best top-end developers. And I've asked him to come in, join as a family, join a team so we could build homes to the liking of the quality.
I went to triplettconstruction.com and it took me to something in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, go. I apologize. Hold on. My
okay,
bad.
and it just says our Triplet Construction, but it doesn't look like it's okay.
No.
Which one?
It is www. For Triplet, the number 4.
For Triplet.
.com.
Okay, thank you.
And then also Raw Development.
I got it on the screen. I'll get Raw Development in a minute.
Yeah, that's it right there. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because that one has Triplet Construction, the logo.
I
and everything
apologize.
that I have. It's okay. I
know the front end.
Sure.
How they say, the front end, but your back end, you better look it up.
Better. Because what we try to do is let everybody here know, and they'll put it, Brian probably put that, or Jamal put that up right under you, the fortriplet.com, because if people are hearing you and like what they are hearing and think that they want to refer someone to you or themselves, then yes, they can go directly on here and look at it and say, okay, good. So I do see Aladdin Residence, Hillcrest Residence, Cloverdale Residence, 60th Street, St. Andrews, and Gramercy Residence. These are all LA properties. So thank you. And then he said that he'll get the other one up.
That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see Raw Development is the designer for all homes. So we have a process. When you leave the architect, structural engineer, and you have your plan set, then Raw Development comes in and they will start working with you on the type of work, the type of quality, the type that you want to see, in your home, giving you designs and giving you thought process of what you may like. And that is very important. When you select one of those, you'll see the quality of the work. And we have some that goes from the ADU to services. And
I like on your project page, you have projects before and after, and people can look at some of those when they click on projects and see exactly, the before and the after photo. Because there's some really big and they look like they're much older homes, but then you made them real modern. And a lot of people are going to that modern thing right now, right? And so now that one house that I'm looking at under the construction project, is it those two pictures side by side, are those the same property but different elevations, or is that two separate properties? There's one that you have the front of the house and it has the white with the black and it has the
same house.
And then it is all the same house as the next
same
picture,
house.
Just showing a different side, a different view.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, very nice.
And so what happens is a lot of times, for example, in this home, it was a smaller home. And we added square footage. The homeowner wanted it taller. They wanted certain elements different. They wanted to add to it. So we listen to anything that the architect, construction engineer can design, we can build. Like the windows here, when we talk about upgrades, give you an standard upgrade. There's certain standard windows. Some owners want to have a higher end window called Milgard or whatever name they want to use. So we work with them to say, this is the look I want. Open concept, the kitchen, waterfall, the island that has the waterfall, the countertops, the floating sinks. That's a waterfall. So those things are important. That gives the homeowner a different look of saying, wow, I like that.
Yeah.
I never thought or understood it, but now I like that. The foldable doors, glass sliders. Those are things that we're showing you on a high end side, but the low end can still be just as beautiful. So it depends on what the homeowner wants.
Got it.
And the myth about ground up remodel. If you take all the walls down except for one,
that one wall,
although it's considered a remodel, it is actually a rebuild. It is
rebuild.
Actually built brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's the terminology of a cost factor for the homeowner that they're not taxed as a new home. That's the only difference, because the foundation has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Any home built prior to, let's say, 2020, your foundation probably is 6 to 8 inches, not these 16 to 18. So you hear about underpinning. So those are new homes. Those are brand new foundations. So we educate our clients on what it is to have a brand new home, what it is to have a rebuild home, and why they're basically the same thing.
Got it.
Terminology wise. Terminology means that I didn't want you to be taxed on new when you already own the home.
I think that's so important, that you are really taking the time to educate people, because what we have found over the last few months is, number one, that old adage, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. Number two, that there are some people that are lazy and won't go get the information. They'd rather you have the information and just hear it. And then there's some other people that they have tried, but they're not really comprehending it, especially when it comes to building, right? If you're not inclined to that, it's challenging and can be extremely challenging. And so there are different aspects all across the board. But the fact is, you are taking them step by step and explaining what it means. And I think it has a combination to do, like I said, with your full background. Yes, you've been doing this 18 or whatever years as, I guess, a GC or in the construction space, but having that real estate and mortgage experience as well, and you combine all three of them, right? You understand it. It sounds like you're people and you are going to the meetings, you're talking to the planning department, you're talking to the permitting department. You're not just relying on, oh, I read this article, right? You're going down there, you're emailing, you're calling, you're like, hold up, what's going on with this? What's going on with that, right? So
we've learned.
I think it's great. Now there is a question, because I think you already answered this, where Marcus said, Mr. Triplett, are you concerned with the cost of materials, and will that affect your pricing at $350 a square foot? So I know you stated you're at about $395 a square foot now, not $350. Can you re-explain? I don't know if Marcus was on here at the time, but re-explain that.
Part of what we did is from the $350 to $395, that $40 a square foot brought in, because your insurance, most, not all, most insurance companies are not covering soil testing. Most, if not all, are covering compaction. Most, if not all, are not covering new dirt that has to come in to be able to compact. So those factors, we factor in what the cost is, a whole lot more than what people will realize, that it may cost $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So if I'm saying to you, Mr. Homeowner or Ms. Homeowner, that I'm going to build your home, I want to make sure it's built correctly. I don't want you coming out of pocket. So we looked at it from a cost standpoint. The maximum cost is $395 right now for a standard like-kind property. Now, the question is, will that number go up higher? I believe that when it's 3,000 or 4,000 people at a time that are building, that number may go up, but it should not be a factor from a homeowner standpoint, to the point where the only concern that I would have is when it gets to that number, there's something else that will have to kick in. The insurance company will have to come back and reevaluate. Our specialty in working with your insurance company is to try to cover that cost. Now, supply and demand does make a big difference, but there is no supply and demand right now. I'm telling homeowners, instead of waiting, select your contractor now. Select your contractor who's going to get you into plan check, get you a building permit, get you approved to start now, so there is no supply. The ice issue. Someone asked me the question, well, Clarence, how does that affect you with ice? Ice is important because they're taking individuals who wanted to earn, have the right to earn and have a life to live, that they're taking these young men and saying, okay, now you have workers who do not want to work. Well, we have in-house. So yes, it's going to impact us like any construction company, like anybody. Right. But the aspect of how we have our team set up, we have divisions of who's doing what, that we're going to make sure we're not overloaded, that if everybody come to us right now, could we build? As long as they understand that there's a process to our build, we're going to be okay.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
Because you spoke about ice. One of the things that I've been trying to do, and I've said it, and I still would love to do it. I have a couple of builders that have said yes. I have a link to a spreadsheet that asks people about volunteering, because we do know that a lot of the workforce that helps build are undocumented individuals, right? I don't ever call anyone illegal, because no person is illegal. They may not be here as a fully documented person. They may have come in, however they came in, and be considered that they're here unlawfully, but they're not an illegal human being. They're not an alien. But if you were building my house, okay, this is a scenario. This ain't it for real, y'all. So don't be hitting us up later. As well as me, let's just say I have my property. It's on the west side. I have a double lot, right? Because a lot of Altadena, when it was built in the 40s and when they got rid of the poppy fields, they built all these double lots. Yes. So lots of people don't have a 5,000 square foot lot. They have 10,000. They have 9,000, 14,000, whatever. So you have a double or triple lot. And I want to rebuild, but you're telling me it's going to take at least 8 months. And another builder is saying we could probably get you in 4 to 6 months. We have this staff. My people are documented, You're telling me, well, I did have a lot of undocumented workers, but now, they've either self-deported, been deported, they're in detention, or they're staying inside, right? Because they don't want to risk being deported or being detained. And I say, well, I have like 50, 75 people, friends and family, that are ready, that when you start, we want to come and volunteer to help build my house. I have the builder's risk insurance. I'm good. But I want to help provide the manpower, right, to you, because you're in a shortage. We will only do what your foreman says, right? But I want to provide the manpower so that when you say framing, we're going to start framing. You tell us, lay these 2x4s out at 16 inches, whatever your person tells us, lay this out before we put all the walls up and bolt them to the slab, the foundation, all of this. Are you willing, Clarence Ellington Triplett Construction, are you willing to allow someone or a group in the community that has volunteers? We know that there's, I know of 2 people. I know Kevin Daly was on here earlier. I don't know if he still is. I know Patrick, a friend of mine, Patrick Williams, where there are people that have gone through programs. They used to be in gangs in Altadena, right? And they are fully out of that lifestyle, but they know other young persons that are kind of struggling with it. And they're trying to say, hey, come and help us build, learn this trade, right? Are you willing to work with organizations or groups or families that choose to provide the manual labor to help you in the areas that they can help, right? Some things they can't do, but on things that they can. Is Triplett Construction willing to go that route and say, yeah, come on, let's help get there's neighbors that are like, we want to help build if there's not enough manual labor, right? People are talking this now because we see what's going on with ICE. So what happens if you run into that where people are like, hey, I got all the bodies, we're ready?
I'll answer it 2 ways.
Okay.
There was an event at the Pasadena Library that they gave an event. We were in the parking lot getting our stand, getting my ego to say, okay, Clarence, get your energy. You're going to be talking to people. We're going to get them rocking. We're going to let them know about the greatness that we're trying. No,
Oh.
As we were walking to the event, there were 3 people sitting in the parking lot hanging out, 2 young men and a lady.
Uh-huh.
And the young man made a comment that he didn't expect to have a response. Are you hiring? I stopped. I turned around and I said, what is your name, young man?
Right.
And he told me his name. I said, okay, so when you speak to an elder,
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you something.
Good job.
What is your name? And he told me, I said, my name is Clarence Ellington. So now ask me the question. Are you hiring? I said, young man, if you want to work, I will hire you. I said, I have 3 rules: no drugs, no drinking, no smoking, and no women on the job site. Young lady, no drinking, no smoking, no man on the job site. If you want to work, I will teach you a trade that you can take with you anywhere.
Good.
I will teach you how to work. I will teach you a trade that you can use to empower yourself in your life. Now, if you are serious, here's my number. And I'm going to say this. You may need to call me for the next 30 days, every other day, once a week until we're ready, but you need to be ready. And if you say you're serious, I will hire you. So to your question, a young lady called me and says, I heard you Saturday say that any young man that wants to work, that you would hire them and teach them a trade. I said, yes, ma'am. What about women? I want to work. I said, you want to work labor? She said, no, I want to work the office. She's in the interview with my HR right now to get hired part-time to be a full-time job. So I'm going to say to you, Toni, every one of the persons you just talked about, I will hire them if they want to work.
But if they want to volunteer.
If they want to volunteer, I will hire them to help volunteer. Now, and this is where it goes. I will speak to my insurance company to see what kind of policy I need for volunteers, but the answer is always going to be yes, because I want them to be part of the history of Altadena. And
now,
they should not
that's
be
how
told
you
no.
do business.
Good
That's
job.
how you do business.
That's right. That's what's up.
We had to pop back in, Mr. Ellington. Because
My thing has been from the jump.
You're saying stuff that I'm already thinking about. Remember, Toni, we had this conversation. So I'm
We've
gonna
been talking about it from the jump. I literally have a Google spreadsheet that people can say they want to volunteer or whatever, right? And if I have enough contractors that I'm partnering with, which you are doing, Brian, y'all come back in. We'll connect them. Although you're here and your number is out here. So anybody that's out here.
My phone, let's see. My phone's blowing up. I put it on mute because I'm used to being distracted. But
right.
And a part of what I'm saying.
Somebody is on here and is seeing it and knows a young person that wants a lifestyle change, that wants to
empower themselves, improve themselves.
Someone is emailing this to about 200
also, besides just learning the trade, I think it's very important they get mentorship, because at our age group, I'm getting ready to be 60. Brian's in his 50s. You're right around there too, Clarence. And
I'm 66. I'm 66 and proud of it.
Right. Me too. So the fact is, within our age range, when that young man said, are you hiring? And you said, wait a minute, young man, because I was waiting on you to say, when he asked you again, you to say, just a moment, young man. He should be saying, Mr. Triplett, are you hiring? Hello, I'm so-and-so, and shaking your hand. So you have the opportunity not only to have them and teach them a trade, but really mentor them in some other social skills during this time, which is awesome.
Very important.
And so I'm super happy that you said that. And if anybody is watching today and wants to tell people, hey, you want to learn a trade and you know some people that might benefit from his mentorship and his tutelage in the trades, link them up with Mr. Triplett.
And part of what we're talking about, because some of our kids have been incarcerated.
Yeah.
Some of our kids, and then when they pull out that application, they don't want to tell me the story. There's only one thing that you have done that I will not hire you for. Other things that you have done, tell me the truth before you fill out the application.
Yeah.
Tell me that you want to change your life. See, God is not finished with me. I was supposed to have been gone 3 or 4 times.
None of us.
So God says, I still got a plan for you, Clarence. So don't tell me that you have a pity story, because I've had a better pity story than you. And the person behind me had one better than me. Mine is to give you what you need. I was at church with Pastor McFarland Sunday. Lady, he'd made a statement and said, someone next to you says, if it's their birthday, give them $100. I gave the lady $100. She looked at me. Pastor McFarland said, give you $100. Right. And he says, that Triplett construction. I wasn't giving it to her as Triplett construction. I was giving it to her for Clarence, because when we have issues. I had stress issues. I talked to Pastor McFarland personally and said, hey, help me with he said, come. And so the word that was given that day is abundance. Yeah. That word of abundance means you have a limit of what you can control. You have a limit of that you can't control. But the limit is, I told somebody and they had me crazy. They thought I was, my team thought I was crazy. I said, I'm gonna build 10%, which is 400 homes in Altadena. Even if I don't reach the 400 homes, the homes that I'm gonna reach, those people are gonna be so happy with their home. They're gonna be part, and that's part of the history of giving back. So as long as I have voice, and God says, help the person next to me, especially if they're minority, brown or black, I wanna teach them a trade. Part of my other team I mentioned earlier is commercial. One of our principals is one of the largest African-American plumbing veteran commercial plumber for the state of California, who helped build the stadium in Inglewood. He will get them into the journeyman program. He will teach them a trade that they can use forever. He can get them working $40, $50 an hour, but you got to start somewhere. So part of it is reaching to that other side and saying, help this young man who wants to be something. And we've done that already.
So what is it that they could have done, the only one thing that they could have done that you wouldn't hire them for? You said you would hire them for anything, tell you the truth. Child molesting. Okay. That's perfect. I just want to know, so it's out there.
And the only reason I'm saying that is we're going to be in people's homes.
Right.
God forbid you did something minor, major, or whatever the case may be. That's something that I cannot, and I'm not judging that person.
Right.
And it could be something that a scenario where they got treated, they were 18 and the person was 17. That's something that if that's the conversation and you show it, I'm going to hire you.
Yep. Got it.
But for the most part, that's how I look at it. I don't care what you like. I don't care if you're a man like a man, a woman like a woman. That's none of my business. That's your house. I care that you're going to show up for work every day. I care that you're going to work, give me everything you got for that day, each day, so I can pay you for that day, each day. That's important to me.
So Jamal jumped back on too. I'm gonna let both of them talk, because usually they're in the background until they have some real questions. So I'm gonna go on mute for a minute because we've been talking for an hour. I'm gonna let them engage and talk with you and pull some questions out and let you answer them for a minute.
The only thing
literally is long.
The only thing I'm upset about is we didn't have the church organ in the background. I was over here rocking back and forth.
Preaching.
That's what I'm talking about. Ain't nobody came on and said none of that.
You're the first person. You're the first person that spoke anything.
We don't want to promise
remotely close to that.
But you know, Tony's like, okay, I got to ask this question, and that answer, and let me pop that number back up. You know, we got to give you some extras right here. I'm just happy to hear that, because I grew up in Altadena. I've been here since I was 8. I'm 58 now. And ain't nothing like Altadena. And you're taking on 400 homes. I hope you get them, because it's 6,600, so it's more than enough for you to get 400. It's more than enough for everybody to get 400. But the dedication, I mean, because this show is going to be around as long as we still breathe. And we're going to be focused on this exact scenario with you and a couple other builders that we've had on. And this is an exciting time. And I'm finally hearing the butter that I needed on my biscuit. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome. That's all I got to say. Part of what
you're saying, I work 7 days a week. So my significant other told me, you need to take a day off.
Mhm.
God didn't take a day off. Jesus Christ didn't take a day off.
Mhm.
If someone calls me at 10 o'clock at night and asks me a question about their build, or asks me a question that you should not go to bed with that on your mind. You should be able to ask that question. You lost everything. So why shouldn't I take the second to answer your question? Why shouldn't I be prepared, or say if the family member wants to meet? I have a family meeting that the young man called me and said he asked questions. He's from France, and he said, I'm interviewing contractors. I said, okay. So by the time we finish the conversation, he says, my wife wants to meet you what day? And we're meeting today. Why? Because all I did was answer your questions. I didn't bypass you and trade you off to someone else. It is not a hidden secret how much I'm going to charge you to build your home. It's not a hidden secret how much the architect should charge you to build your home.
Right.
If they can build it in all inclusive. So I didn't say this, but I'm saying this. My $395 also includes your structural and architectural design.
Exactly.
That's
so
important.
I'm gonna tell you, we know some people that are from Altadena that are builders, and they've given one quote that was, first they said 450 to 450.
Toni, stop chewing. Stop chewing.
Oh, I'm sorry. My popcorn, sorry. And then they said 500, 600. Then they gave a full quote, and then came back later and said, oh, that's going to be another 200,000 because of solar. I said, that's a lie, and they're a lie, and you need to find somebody else, because solar does not cost $200,000. So addition to what you're already doing.
That was a rip.
Some are saying 8 and 1,000. So the fact that, like, when you and a couple others that we know are staying under that 400 mark, 340, 360, 395, people are like, oh, they must not be good, right? And we're like, no, here's their website, go look at their stuff. But how do you talk to somebody that has been told that and show them that, no, this is really what it's costing, so people can really understand that there are people out here just being greedy and trying to gouge them so they make more money?
I had a young lady at one of the events, and she came up to me and she said she wanted to go black and she wished she could have found me prior to who she signed with. And I said, no problem. So we having a conversation. She says, so by the way, how much would you charge to build my home? She's already told me she went with someone else. I said, I would have charged you $395 a square foot. I said, there are changes that are the insurance company will cover. They cover upgrades and things like that. I said, your solar and sprinklers should range anywhere, and again, is predicated, your sprinkler system is predicated on the square footage and the design of the home, and they will give you a price. They're ranging anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. Solar panels, they're going to range, some be 60, 80 to 100. So if we use a number of $120,000 for solar panel and sprinkler system, that's more than enough until we know what the actual third-party cost is. I said, but for the most part of building your home, you should be at $395 a square foot. She said, well, the person's charging me $500. I said, okay. So I calculated how big was your square footage. I said, so this person had a smile. He answered your questions. Is he worth the $185,000 extra you're giving him? And that's before he's going to come back and charge you for a change order, saying that the supply and demand and whatever other excuse, which should be no excuse because you got a brand new home with nothing on it. So there should be no change order. And she looked at me and I said, she done called me 3 times. I said, talk to him. And if he can't change his number, if he hasn't put a piece of wood on your property, if you haven't gotten a permit, which he shouldn't put a piece on your property because you don't even know what you're building, you can cancel. Even though it says 3 days right of rescission, you can cancel because he's done no work to your property. And she's like, you serious? I said, I'm just sharing with you. Good luck. I wish you the best. And she's like, you not laughing at me. I said, why would I do that? You're a homeowner. But there is no supply and demand when there's nothing being built in Altadena. 1 or 2 homes being started in Altadena. There's a guy who's building on the same foundation that it burned because he was a developer trying to flip something that I wouldn't live in because I know something's not right. So I can't dictate what that man does. I can't say what he does. I can tell you what Triplett does. And Triplett believes that you should be in the 395, 350 to 395. We said 395 based on the compaction, based on that 6 inch of dirt that was taken. So starting numbers there. Now you may want upgrade mill guard windows or specialty doors, specialty concrete. Then we will talk to you about upgrades, but that's your choice as a homeowner.
Right.
But you should not be getting gouged in the beginning. You should not be getting taken advantage of in the beginning. And if you are, you're not the person that Altadena was looking for.
That's it right there. Go ahead, Jamal. I know you're waiting. He's like, nope, he's answering everything I want to ask.
I'm liking everything I hear. Actually, you know what? I do have a question. One thing you had mentioned is that you ran into people at other events that have been going on. And
yes,
obviously you set up appointments with folks to actually meet with them one-on-one. Do you have any like town halls or other events that you sponsor or that you plan on doing so in the near future so you can have maybe one voice for multiple people to hear at the same time?
No, but if you put me on the corner of any corner and tell me people gonna be there, 1 or 100, I'll be there. You got my word. If you set something up, I will be there. And I'm only being realistic to say if someone calls and say, I got 10 people, I will be at that 10 people. They can come to my office. I have a local office. I opened a new second office in Pasadena at 680 East Colorado Boulevard. And I can accommodate as many people if they want to come, if we can answer their questions, work with them, and do whatever we need. So I'm available, and we have a local office. They don't have to come to my LA office.
680 East Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena.
Yes, Pasadena, California. I'm on the corner of El Molino and Colorado Boulevard.
Right above where Roy's is or was, huh?
Yes.
Oh.
And they got some great eating places over there, too.
Yeah, the stand has great sandwiches. It's right there by the Pasadena Playhouse, across the street.
I'm above Stan's, the restaurant, and if you come to my office, come down El Molino. I have a parking structure. That's where my office is.
Yep, I was just over there with my daughter eating about 3 weeks ago.
So I'm here for, like I said, I'm here because the part of it is I will back myself to anybody. What I said to you live here, I say it in front of individuals, and I'm not going to change my number. The only time I will change my number is if there's a massive change that has to take place. ICE doesn't change your number. It should not change your number. The tariff should not change your number because if a piece of 2x4 that costs $3.50 goes up 40%, so if it's $4 or $4.50, let's just go for $4.50 a square foot piece. That should not change how many pieces of wood to change your price. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It's like when we had COVID.
I'm really glad you're saying that because we have people literally that have been scared hearing 600, 800, 1,000, and then that's changed their mind where they don't want to rebuild. And they're also being told it's going to take at least 2 years. And it's not.
For what?
Right. And some people will be back in their houses by Christmas, but others it might be right after or, a year from now, but they're being told 600, 800, 1,000, and it's going to take 2 years to rebuild. And it's like, stop it. Because then people are saying they don't want to build.
Tony, I'll give you the scenario. We're taking 5 to 10 homes at a time. So when that starts from the ground to the framing finish, I'm going to say 2 to 3 months, depending on inspections and everything goes on. When it's finished framing, then that next 5 or 10 is going to start. So we have a system that says we're going to start here when they finish and get the final sign off. Now they're ready for the next group. So from that group, it starts. So it's a process.
Yeah.
But 2 years, you need to get rid of that person.
Who you
shouldn't even
telling?
talk to that person.
And Clarence, what I want to do when you said you have a permit already, or you're in final stages of permit?
Oh, we're building next week. We already have approved plans and approved at 7. Well, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell it, but you know,
Just
I
say
can't
the
hold
street.
water.
Just say the street, not the
I'm
address.
on a corner on Alameda.
Okay, so
You will see the sign,
that's fine. So my
and
question
we will be building there.
Okay, cool. So my question is then, for that, when you are building there, we want to know, like you're gonna have to text me, whatever. You have my number, because we want to come out. We do on-site stuff all the time. Brian and I are always in the neighborhoods, and you and a couple other builders we've worked with that are now getting these permits and about to break ground and all of that. We want to document it, start to finish. So we want to be there when you compacting, bringing dirt and compacting.
I will tell you,
when you're laying the slab. We want to be there when you're framing, because we bring it back here and say, this is the progress. We want people to see. We're getting 700,000 views since January. So we want people to see what's happening in Altadena.
Tony, I'm going to have a birdie that's going to hit on your window the day we're going to be over there doing the compaction. Now, what you do with it is up to you.
That's, hey. You already know, because if you don't and I find out, I'm gonna be calling you like, for real, Clarence, what happened? Because I drove by.
We're gonna stand across the street saying, yeah, we tried to get his brother.
Right, because I drove by, Clarence, and I noticed the frame was up and you didn't call me.
And if you drive
on the show.
And Tony, if you listen to me, if you drive the community, you're gonna see 10. Right now, you'll see 10 different signs.
Okay, cool.
And the 10 different signs says United Legacy Builders. Why did I put United Legacy Builders instead of Triplett Construction? Because we're a team.
So who is part of United Legacy Builders besides Triplett Construction?
Raw Development Design,
okay.
7 Day Builders, CCI, Cook and Associates, and American Standard Engineering.
And that's the people that, I'm sorry.
Will be from beginning to end.
Uh-oh, he's frozen.
That's all right. He's just pausing, trying to gather the thought.
From beginning to end.
He'll be back in a second.
Definitely.
Because, you know, this was good information.
In the interim, I found the website. So when he comes back, he can talk about it a little bit.
Oh, United Legacy Builders?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a website. I heard him talk about it, but look, you are on top of it. That's what you do.
It's all these folks. Triplett Construction, Raw Development, 7 Day Builders, CCI, Construction and Maintenance Services, American Standard Engineering, and TPP Insurance Brokerage. So hopefully you can get back on soon and talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, this is man, it's phenomenal. Obviously he knows what he's doing. He's done it for a while, and yet at the same time, the fact that he's speaking, talking about what we want to hear in terms of engaging with the folks that might want to work.
I'm
back in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to leave in a few minutes. I apologize because I do have
no problem.
I had 11 o'clock, but they're okay. I have
no
my
problem.
team go there.
So Clarence, I was able to find the website for United Legacy Builders.
Yes.
And stopped at the page that showed all the folks, Triplett, Raw Development, and you can continue if you want to explain what everybody does.
And I'm gonna share with you some part of what we're talking about, or what you're seeing. 4 months ago, when we started this, there's certain individuals that were part of our team. Some have passed on because of other commitments or just not seeing and understanding the vision that I had. But everything that I talk about, we deliver. Everything that I'm sharing with you is part of who I am and what I do. And the core doesn't stop with one person. It doesn't stop with Clarence Ellington. It is part of what we're trying to do in the vision that we see. And the core individuals, which is the on their Raw Development Design, 7 Day Builders, Cook and Associates, or American Standard Engineering. Those are the core individuals who are building this home, that's going to build your home back. Those are the ones that are going to make sure that it's built correctly. And that's more important than anything that I can offer you. So as I mentioned, if you tell me you need me to be somewhere, I will be there so we can make sure that it happens.
Quick question, Clarence, is are you guys only working exclusively with Altadena right now? I mean, obviously there's a lot that'll keep your attention, but is that exclusive to Altadena?
No, and yes and no. I'm not going to do Palace. I'm trying not to do Palisades because I heard that they were charging clients $1,000 a square foot, and that doesn't make sense to me. And I don't want to get caught up in something that I have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if it's a African American family and they want us to build there, we will. But I'm not seeking any business to do that.
All right, cool. And then my next question, which is something I'm sure you've spoken to Toni about, is will you come back, give us some updates, see how things are going? I'm sure people will have liked this conversation, and will definitely want to talk to you again and hear what you have to say.
I would be honored, and I would be honored. If you ask, I will be there.
Got it. Thank you, Clarence, for coming on today, giving all the real information. It's been great. You got my number. I called you yesterday. I got yours locked in now. So I expect to hear from you soon.
Look for that birdie.
I am. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarence. Have a great day.
It was an honor.
God bless.
Thank you.
We never had somebody exit the show. We usually take you out. You taking yourself out.
I got stuff to do. We've been on an hour and a half.
All right, y'all. See y'all later. Okay, next person, please.
I appreciate you. I really do.
Definitely.
Likewise, Clarence. You have a good one.
Thanks, Clarence. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, y'all.
And
that was a good Toni Talk show today.
Yeah, lots of engagement.
I was pleasantly surprised at the direction the conversation went. Not that he wasn't going to talk. I mean, just when it went from the young man asking a question. I mean, and it expanded and became a lot more, I don't want to say engaging, but it caught my attention a little bit more. Not that I wasn't focusing, because I liked what he was saying before with the numbers, in terms of the square footage, right? Compared to some of the numbers we've heard. And some of the people that we heard that were that high are back down to around to the 400s now. So I guess they're figuring some stuff out. But his concept on hiring folks and just, exposing them to actual work that they can actually get paid for and actually make a career out of, I think was amazing. I think that was amazing. And he seems very, very, honest, very easy to talk to. Obviously, again, he knows what he's talking about, but he can articulate it in a manner that folks can actually understand. And is not scared to put his stuff up against someone else and do a comparison. Because, some of them folks are.
Because it's so needed, right? And for somebody to be talking about 600, 800, 1,000, whatever the foolishness is, come and compare and see. And see, he is not, to me, just a one-stop shop. He is more of a full-service shop, because he's giving not just the one-stop, let's design and build you, but hey, I'm gonna educate you on this, I'm gonna educate you on that. We're gonna incorporate lead testing and redistribution, or bringing more dirt back in and then compacting it, because we don't want your foundation and your earth always moves, especially in Cali where we got seismic plates shifting and everything. You got to do it right, because if you don't, it's going to be a problem. And he doesn't want his name on the line from that problem, or somebody coming back suing him in a few years like, oh, he built my house, but he didn't do this right. And so now I have all these problems. I need to get a structural engineer and raise my house and do, all this stuff. So he is, to me, yes, he calls himself a one-stop shop, but I feel like he's a full service shop, because he's doing all these additional services. And that's super important for Altadena.
I'm stealing that phrase. Yes, we are a full service.
Absolutely. Like, we try to be a full service communication, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Oh, and by the way, today is the 1st. So the website is now launched. We had a guest, it's Toni show. We were going to wait till tomorrow. I can't never wait. You know, I mean,
You never, yeah.
Because I'll be in the middle of the night going, yes, wait till they see that.
It's like,
All
let me
night,
tweak
all
this. Let me
day.
tweak that. Let me do
Right.
this.
Because
They'll watch a
just
video
can't.
and be like, wait a minute, that's a cool idea. Let me incorporate that. We send stuff to each other. It's like, oh, how can we make
Wait
that
till I
work?
fix Tony's hair on that other picture, then we really gonna have that in
From
the
that
phone.
purple and blue or whatever you had.
That's
there,
just what it came up
was
with.
just
I was
cute.
like, no, I'm not rolling with
It
that
was
color
still
hair.
cute.
I knew she was gonna say something about that anyway.
Right. I was
Yeah,
gonna
slap
say, oh,
that-
that's cute, but
slap
could
that
you
up
change
there
my
again.
hair? Her thing was like, nope, blue hair.
Slap that up there
Nope.
again. We didn't get Tony's reaction to some of these ones because she didn't get to see the end of the show. So
Right.
throw
But
up the realism.
yeah, I did. In our WhatsApp, Brian be sending stuff all the time. So does Jamal. I'm getting better checking it once a day because I don't like notifications. So I have no.
I don't have the notifications on. I just
Coming
go
on my
there
phone.
automatically.
Yeah, I
Oh, I
don't have
turn
WhatsApp,
all notifications off.
Facebook, IG notifications. I have all notifications turned off because I hate them like I hate group text. So, and the three of us sometimes do group text, but I don't hate that one because we're talking business. The group texts that I hate are like somebody includes you in a group text and nobody knows how to just text the sender back. They do it with everybody all
Yeah,
day,
reply to
all
all.
night, all the next
I don't
day.
want to know the answer to your question. You didn't know mine.
Everything. I'm like, y'all are some boneheads. Can you not do it right? So I be telling people, if you add me in a group text, I will delete and block you from my phone. And I have a sister friend that thought I was playing one time, and she had to call another one. She was like, sis, I said, I told you I quit putting me in group text. She said, you blocked me? Yeah, I blocked you. I wasn't playing with you. And so now she understands because she had remediation and she's not blocked anymore. But I'm never in group text.
Remediation.
It is remediation. If I tell you something, I got to tell you again, and then I got to block you again.
I
Remediation
know.
training.
I be
Then
talking
I'll
to
block
my boys be coming to me talking about, you know, he's talking in court speak to me. Yes, so this is not in our wheelhouse, but our framing for it. I'm like, hey man, look, it's just me and you. You do not have to speak to me like you talking to the CEO of DuPont. I don't care. Just talk to me regular layman's terms, brother. Because I can't talk tech to people who don't know tech. I got to give them parables and scenarios so they understand what I'm talking about.
Well,
You got to be able to flip the script.
yeah. So that was an awesome show. Super glad that I met Clarence. And I remember I told y'all all these cards that I have. I forgot. Well, what I've been doing is these are all the cards since January or February, right? Like all these cards. So I've been going through them, calling people, emailing people, all this, because I'm trying to make sure that starting next Thursday for 2.5 weeks, y'all have the Toni Talk show, aka it'll be Brian and Jamal's show, whatever.
No, we'll have your stuff up there. We'll just say Tony's on assignment.
But I'm trying to make sure that you guys have guests on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? Because I don't want y'all bored and trying to figure out what to do. So
trust me, we won't be bored if we didn't have. We have all kinds of stuff that we can do.
And so like Thursday this week, and I gotta call him or email him today. But Vaco Artinian, he's a wildfire recovery attorney that we met that night at PCC when Brian and I went a couple Fridays ago. So he's supposed to come on. And then I have some other people, neighborhood housing services, and some other folks that hopefully will be on and filling in. I will be on, is it the 10th? Thursday the 10th? Yeah. I'm going to come on Thursday the 10th from Acropolis from Dinner in the Sky. So
that's right.
Yeah, because it'll be
Dinner in the Sky with our Toni.
I'm sure you're gonna make a song of that.
With her feet dangling high, 1,000 feet.
So that particular night, we go there at 7. No, it's 7:30, I think, and we're there. I believe it's 2.5 hours. So 8.
So we'll just be coming on when you.
Right, you'll be on. I'll be there like 30 minutes maybe, because 10 a.m. here is 8 p.m. there. So next week Thursday, what's today? Tuesday or Thursday? Today's Tuesday. So next week Thursday, I will do the Toni Talks live in the air from Dinner in the Sky,
We
the
need to go
sunset,
ahead and like advertise that.
the Sunset
That show.
Acropolis. Well, show them, pull it up, Jamal, and show them what it is for those who haven't seen it. Because who said they wouldn't try it, Jamal?
Yes, I did say that. I would not be doing that.
You would never do it, Brian? So have y'all ever
No.
The dangling, I would not
Yes.
do. I would bungee.
I only
I
want to
would
do zip lining.
skydive, I
you
would
want
zip line.
No,
I
I'm too
would zip
old to.
line,
My
absolutely.
fear
Oh,
of.
you got
I
to go
have
zip
a fear.
lining.
I have a fear. Let me tell you.
Have
I
you
went
ever
to
done-
Hawaii. No, let me tell you this. I went to Hawaii, and we were on the island of Hawaii, the southwest part at the Hilton or Marriott or whatever it was. And the electric company is right there, and they suck in ocean water, and when it exhausts, it's super hot, like super warm. So all the tropical fish are right there, right? And so we're going scuba diving right there. And this big giant sea turtle was coming at me, and he's humongous. And I start to panic, and I'm trying to get out of the water. And this big Samoan chick had to jump in and snatch me out. And I was married at the time. And my wife looked at me and said, "You was acting like a bee." And I was like, "Yep, you did. I sure was. I need all my toes."
So you probably also would not swim with the sharks like I did, or hold a big stingray.
Not at all. I hold stingray, but I've done that with my kids at the petting zoo, so I know what that feels like.
No, I'm talking about in the middle of the ocean.
No, I'll do that. But because I've touched those animals, I ain't swimming with sharks.
And they're super rubbery. But the one I held my
slimy.
arms out. He was so big, I couldn't even hold him up because he was huge. But that, and then let me see, what else would you do? You said you wouldn't zip line? Dude, you got to zip line. It's the best thing on the planet.
I'll go to Vegas and try it on Fremont Street. That'll be the test.
And then let me see which day I'm in
because it's short.
So when I will try to, I will film it because I'll be there in the morning.
That's what I was going to suggest. And then send it to us. Do about 10 minutes. Send that to us. Then you can film the rest of it. And when we start you off before you come on, we'll show that part and then we'll show you still being.
Okay, that's cool. What I'll do,
look, we telling everybody our posts, the stuff we be discussing in posts. That's funny.
Because the day that I'm in Coder.
Yeah, but how do you see where their feet is at?
Oh, that's when he could go to another one and it shows when they're in the air.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So that's what we go on. This big, it's a big table. And we're strapped into these seats. And it has a sunshade and a crane takes and it's a 7-course meal with wine and everything.
Take it back to that picture. You gotta get a screenshot.
So I'll take plenty of pictures. I'll take plenty of video, put them in the WhatsApp, and then I'll go live because it's a sunset thing. So we start at 7:30. So 8 there is 10 a.m. here. So I'll be able to chime in or jump in 10, 15 or whatever while we're eating or whatever and show you what it looks like from up there, show you the plate that's in front of us, whatever course it is.
The air up there.
And then when I do the roller coaster in Montenegro on the mountain.
Did that say legal documents at the bottom there?
Wait, hold on. Probably.
Better read that, girl. Make sure.
Oh, yeah. No, we've already signed a bunch and we got to do some there too. I'm not worried about that.
Oh, okay. We'll live vicariously through you on this one. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it from afar. Ooh, that is so nice. You a brave soul.
I am such a I'm an adventurer. I love adventures. And
well, you've been in the military, so that was, started you off on all the little travels. And then after that, you got the bug.
I've always kind of been daredevilish. I've always kind of been a little daredevil adventurer, even when I was little. And then so that's it, the Acropolis Sunset Dinner. So we'll do that. And then the day that I do this Alpine coaster in Montenegro, I will take video or pictures from the cable car that takes us up to the top of the mountain. And then when I'm on the roller coaster, I'll have my selfie stick and do some videoing. It might be shaky, but Yeah, I'll share that, and I'll try to come on.
It
No,
won't be shaky if you turn on stabilization on your sound.
okay, okay, I'll do that. So, anywho, thanks everybody for watching today. I just got a text from one of my cousins saying, "Where can I find this? Where will this be archived so I can forward this episode to a bunch of people that are in the rebuild mode?" So I told them go to our page because all of them are there.
Yeah, beat me to it, Molly Mall. There it is,
so
right there. All 100 and something.
Yeah.
Did you get all the other ones on there that were originally on your page? Were you able to upload those? Because
No,
we didn't get every single one. Huh?
Save that for the media expansion.
You know, he always got something that he's thinking about. He's, you know who he reminds me of?
Twice.
You know who he reminds me of, Jamal? Yep, Pinky and the Brain. Hello. Oh. That's Jamal. I mean, that's Brian. He is always like, I gotta do, what am I gonna? That's who he reminds me of.
My body will sleep, but my brain is always going.
Yeah, his brain doesn't stop ever.
Might be the cure to Alzheimer's. Just keeps going.
He the Pinky and the Brain.
Try to take over the world.
I need to come and get some of my stem cells and see what they're worth.
Oh Lord.
Okay, because you might.
Hey, you never know, man. Because
might be worth millions.
I was coming up with stuff before people was. I came up with Party for a Purpose back in '87. You know, then all of a sudden you see everybody party with the purpose. Because they always want to try to combine their partying with their nonprofit. I did that. I ain't see nobody else.
Announcements, huh? I almost forgot.
Oh, no, we'll have to do a separate show for that because ain't nobody staying on this long.
Yeah, I could do a separate one completely with that. But before we go, though, I want to share this one. This is that thing you're telling me about yesterday, Tony. It's about the taxes. Don't know why, people, why we didn't know about this, but up at the Altadena Library, 600 East Mariposa Street, there's actually some assistance for you filing your taxes, and basically saying it's not too late to file your taxes. Today's the last day. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Found this on Senator Sasha Renee Perez's site, and definitely go up there. There's a list of things you need to bring: current photo ID, social security card or ITIN for you, your spouse, and or your dependents, copy of your last year's federal and state returns, proof of financial account numbers for direct deposit of refund, if it's applicable, which is your routing number and account number. And for married filing joint, both spouses must be present. And they'll go through, other things in terms of what you need. For wages, you need the W-2s. For interest statements, 1099 INT, and dividends, 1099 DIV, and all these different things. So if you still need help with your taxes, there is help available. It is at the Altadena Library. It's provided by Golden State Opportunity. And this is at 600 East Mariposa Street in Altadena from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. And I'll do a whole separate. Go ahead, Tony.
So I just want to say this for clarification. It's not, you said today's the last day. It's for this particular Golden State helping people at the Altadena Library.
Correct.
The taxes, because of the fire, were extended. Nobody in the area has to pay their taxes until October 15th. So I just wanted to make that distinction because if somebody hears us say today's the last day, because it's not too late to file your taxes, today's the last day, they may think we mean for the taxes, but we have until October 15th to do that if you're impacted by the fires or in the zones. But today is for this particular event at the library.
Good catch. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
I will do a whole separate.
I'll do the whole thing on a separate thing, recording, and post it on the site.
Cool beans.
Yeah, great show. Amazing. They should all be like this.
I'm working on it, especially for while I'm gone.
No, it's the people. It's not specifically you. It's the people. I mean, that was very dynamic. It was an engaging conversation. It was good.
I think another one that will be really good like that is Neighborhood Housing Services,
Okay.
because they were also recently up at the Altadena Library, and we didn't know. And they were there, and I think, what was it, Brian? That they were up there for several hours, and by the time we got notification, they were leaving or something. And it was like, oh, great.
What were they doing?
They were giving away grants, neighborhood housing services. And the library hadn't advertised it, and people could have gone and got grants. And I found out about it like at 4, and they were leaving at 4:30. And it was that Friday that they were doing the showing at Victory of that narrative for Pasadena. And so I was in there doing stuff, and I couldn't leave to go over to the library. And it was like, oh, sorry. Somebody called me like, Toni, did you know this was going on? I was like, no, because we would have advertised it. So we got to get to whoever is doing all these events at the library, because even with this, we didn't know until yesterday. So we got to get to whoever it is so we can say,
I believe that they do communicate with this. It's just that there's so many social media accounts to check that I'm looking over here.
Well, whoever it is, even if they got a PR person, whether they're doing social media or not, if they could email us, text us something, then we'd have it, because even on their social media, they might forget or we're not tagged or whatever. So it's just important if we connect with them and say, hey, we can also announce this as part of our announcements during the week, and people can know, because my understanding from the person that sent me that yesterday was the same person as the other one. And he's driven by and he's like, ain't nobody at these things. Nobody knows what's going on. So, but neighborhood housing should be coming on next week, and they could give us some really good information as well.
Cool.
I'll share some stuff with you guys.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Hope y'all have a great day, everybody.
Okay, everyone, turn down your volume.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 120 is in the books.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, my volume's down.
Okay, here we go.